A car ought to walk. I pray this devil die and get every evil thing the Lord got to give. And listen, I know you look at us in the state we in right now. Come here, SHALAM. Come here, SHALAM. I know you look at us in the state we in right now. Black people on drugs, and we suffering and dying. And I know it seems like you can do whatever you want to this people. I know it seems like this, but the time for glorifying yourself is soon at an end.
The men of the I.S.U.P.K have it, because we have the Spirit of the Lord. That's who's bringing you this truth week after week. And we're going to show you right now that this same man needs to be destroyed, and for what crimes? For all this hypocrisy, for every time he murdered you, for the 99 million so-called Negroes that died just crossing the Atlantic, for the 77 million North American Indians that right now this city's built on top of their bones, and then they celebrate Thanksgiving. This is what we're going to do. I need you to get into this article. Read what you got. You can put that down. Don't put it on top of there. Put it in the bag. Read.
American heroes, Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty.
These are the men that they call heroes inside the history books in America. Read.
Boston, Massachusetts in the 1760s was a hotbed of radical political activity and the scene of constant violent protests.
Constant what?
Violent protests against British colonial policy.
This is what you don't know. America was founded by rioting and looting for the same reason that they're calling you thugs down in Baltimore. Which, like old buddy said, thug is just a new way to politically correct call you a nigger or a spick. You understand that? It's a way for them to get away with that while you're out there rioting. But you know what they rioted for? They didn't riot against police brutality. They didn't riot for human rights. They rioted because they were getting taxed too much. Because they wanted to pay less on their tea. You're rioting because this year, you watched more police execute your own people than ISIS. There were more police execution videos than there was with the notorious terrorist organization. Because the real terrorist is the US government. The real terrorist is the NYPD. The real terrorist is the Baltimore Police Department. The LAPD. You understand that? Those are the real terrorists against your people. Your true nation. You're not no damn American. How many of you are related to George Washington? I know some of you might have friends with the last name Washington, but that's because who do you think owned you? Where do you think that name came from? It's no different than if you got the last name Rodriguez or Hernandez or Cortez. Who do you think took them over? The same devil speaking a different language. Read.
Much of the credit for the revolutionary stance of Bostonians belongs to Sam Adams.
Belongs to who?
Sam Adams.
Belongs to Sam Adams. Sam Adams had a brother called John Adams. Any of these names sound familiar? They named beers after them. They named cities after them. Some of them became presidents. You know what? They also owned your ancestors. Read.
And the group that came to be known as his Sons of Liberty, or the Boston Mob.
Or the Boston Mob. That's really what they were. They were a gang. They were a group of people who wanted to fight against their oppressor. Read.
As some called them, concerns over property rights rapidly led Adams to a position of opposing British imperial policy.
So they were tired of another nation ruling over them. I got a question. When are you going to get tired of this devil ruling over you? When are you going to get tired of seeing Harlem and knowing that you don't own none of these businesses? When are you going to get tired of looking at your currency and it's the same people who owned your ancestors? When are you going to want your own land? When are you going to want sovereignty? When are you going to want a king named Jesus Christ who actually died for you and is going to come fight for you? When are you going to return back to him? When are you going to want your own country? Read.
And turning him into a fiery, radical, and rabble-rouser.
That's all they really were. All they were was the original radicals, but now they're your heroes. Now they teach your sons and daughters about them and glorify them. Read.
He organized political opposition to the British in the Massachusetts Colonial Assembly and soon became the colony's most effective revolutionary propagandist.
And that's all that he did. But you know what? You try doing that, they'll want to lock you up. They'll bring up your criminal record. They'll sit there and paint you as a notorious gangster for wanting to fight your people. I mean, to fight for your people. There was a brother who went and fought for this country. And he was damn near in tears, saying that when I fought for America, I was a patriot. But when I fight for my people, I'm labeled as a thug. Because this is not your country. This is another nation's country. It was just built off your backs. Read.
Nor did Adams confine his activities to non-violent polemics.
Which what does that mean? That means they took to violence. They burned down buildings. They threw rocks. Read.
One of the most fascinating aspects of Adams' career was his organization and leadership of the Sons of Liberty.
Which they gave them a nice little political correct name when they were nothing but an angry mob. The Boston Mob. Read.
Adams contended that the colonists,
hit the check. Good.
That the colonists had to oppose British tyranny
When they weren't fighting against police brutality, they weren't running through there and murdering people. They were just being taxed. They just had to pay a couple more cents on their products. Read.
dramatically, even with violence. He and the members of the Loyal Nine, a secret group of Boston radicals,
Just another gang that they had. Read.
welded together a corpse of husky South Boston bully boys.
Which once again, like I said, this is just another gang. And what did they dress like in the American Revolution? One side wore blue, another side wore red. What does that sound like? Sounds like the Bloods and the Crips. Bloods and the Crips is as American as apple pie because the CIA taught you how to kill your brother. Keep reading.
To perform some of the more unsavory revolutionary tasks, including intimidating tax collectors and threatening British officials.
And that's the thing, man. They went and they actually went to the doors of their oppressors. Because you know what they knew? They knew that no nation got free from marching. They knew that no nation was going to get free. They weren't going to beg the British. The British wasn't just going to leave. They weren't just going to say, hey, king, queen, whoever the hell it is, parliament, could you just please leave us alone? Can't we solve this diplomatically? Hell no. That's why they went to war. Keep reading.
Mob violence had always plagued Boston, but now the rioters attained a political role, which brought with it a certain revolutionary legitimacy.
But you know what? You have no legitimacy when you riot, when you fight against your oppressor. Not saying that it's right, but you know why? Because all these political views, every single one of them, from what's her name, Stephanie Blake, the mayor down there, to Al Sharpton, it's nothing but white supremacy. They hire them to come calm you down. I doubt any of those things are even gonna stick. The only reason why those cops got charged that quick is for what? Why did they even get indicted? Why were there warrants issued for their arrest? So that you'd stop destroying the city. So that the National Guard could go home. That's the only reason why. Keep reading.
The Sons of Liberty were under the direct command of Adams, who called the mob out whenever he determined that a British action demanded a protest.
And that's all they did. He would organize these riots. These were organized. It wasn't because someone was murdered and they just broke out spontaneously. This was well carefully organized, orchestrated. Read.
Early on, he learned a trick of modern political protesters by making the riots appear spontaneous.
Like, you ever see a flash mob? Yeah, our people set up flash mobs. They want to go out and dance. They were setting up flash mobs to come and riot. Read.
Of course, Adams controlled them with precision and aimed actions only at royal officials.
Only at who?
Royal officials.
And you know what? We'll burn down the one or two black businesses left in our own neighborhood. They were only targeting their oppressors. When are you going to start loving your people? Read.
Politicians or tax collectors. The mob burned royalists in...
They what?
The mob burned.
They burned down buildings too. But they're your American heroes. Read.
Royalists in effigy from the Liberty Tree stoned their houses and tarred and feathered customs collectors.
But when we throw rocks at the police cars in Baltimore, we're thugs. We're criminals. And you know what's even worse? I guarantee you that any single one of those protesters that was arrested in Baltimore, I guarantee you they see more time than the actual police officers who murdered Freddie Gray. They want to talk about the CVS like the CVS was the victim. But nobody's talking about the brother who had his spine broken, who had 3 vertebrae shattered. Nobody's talking about Walter Scott, who was murdered the week before. Nobody gives a damn about Mike Brown. What about the brother in Detroit who was murdered in front of his father inside the house by federal officers? Right. What about him? And they lied and said he had a hammer in his hand. They lie about all these cats. They lie about all these brothers. And you know what happens? Because they're caught on tape, the report needs to be revised. Because the initial story that the cop give is not the same as the YouTube video that came out a day later. Keep reading.
When Tory John Robinson was married, the Sons of Liberty surrounded his home on the honeymoon night, broke out all the windows, and shouted obscenities at the newlyweds until dawn.
They went and busted up his house. They went over there and they wanted to riot. They wanted to get their frustrations out. Read.
But not all of the mob's activities were so prankish. Following the passage of the Stamp Act, 1765, the Sons of Liberty completely demolished then Commissioner Oliver's home.
So now the Stamp Act was once again them just putting a higher tax onto the stamps. So now we need to go riot. Because of, what do they call it, taxation without representation. Well, this is what I want to know. What about not raising minimum wage, but increasing inflation? It's the same damn thing. Read.
And drank the entire contents of his wine cellar. He resigned his post the next day. Then the mob proceeded in a drunken raid.
In a what?
Drunken raid.
Which you're gonna find out, they raided his own damn liquor storage. They broke into this man's house, broke into his winery, and then after they got drunk, they trashed his house. Read.
To Lieutenant Governor Thomas Hutchinson's home, where an observer described the scene. With respect to the Lieutenant Governor's house, where they ended their vile transactions, they had raised a greater number and were intoxicated with liquor, broke trio windows, threw all its furniture out of Kilo House, stamped upon the chairs, mahogany tables, very handsome large gilt-framed pictures.
You know what they call that? That's called breaking and entering. You understand that? They were breaking and entering into people's houses and then destroying their property. And once again, ain't that the American way? But when you fight against your oppressor, you're a thug. You're a criminal. And something needs to be done about it. But you know what? The white man knows justice. You think I'm lying? Ask Saddam Hussein. Ask Bin Laden. Ask half those terrorists. But you know what? No. Obama went over there and put bullets in all their heads. George Bush started it. Because they care about their people. Read.
The pieces of which lay in piles in the street opened his beds and let all the feathers out, took 10,000 pounds in cash, took all his clothes, linen, plate, and everything he had.
Now we're on strong robbery. Read.
Cut the balcony off the top of his house, pulled down all the fruit trees in his garden, and did him in all 25,000 pounds damage.
Which I really want to know how much that would be worth now. It was 25,000 pounds back then. Keep reading.
Adams and the Sons of Liberty continued their activities until independence was declared.
Until what?
Independence was declared.
Because they knew that they couldn't stop there. They continued to do this until independence was declared. When are you going to have independence? When are you going to have liberty? Thomas Paine said, give me liberty or give me death. Liberty is being free from foreign rule. America went and got that in blood. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to turn back to the Most High. I'm telling you to stop killing your brother. Stop selling drugs to your brother. Put down that pork. Leave all these fake religions like Islam and Christianity and get your heritage back. Right. Keep reading.
The British government simply could not cope with the hundreds of rabble-rousers who took part in these riots. And after British troops fired on snowball-throwing civilians in the Boston Massacre of 1770.
Which we're going to get into some of these individual experiences, these individual massacres. You understand that? What a lot of people don't know, this used to be common knowledge. The very first person to die on record in the American Revolution was who? A black man. Damn right, sis. A black man. You understand that? The first casualty of the American Revolution was a black man. He died from Boston soldiers opening fire on him. Which means that before America even truly had a history, you were dying from police brutality. Read.
The image of the royal government dropped beyond redemption. Adams also likely played a role in organizing the band of Indians that held a tea party in Boston Harbor in 1772.
And it says Indians in quotations because they're so disgusting. When they went up there, they didn't wear their colors. They went out there and dressed like Mohawk warriors, spitting in your face. Which we're going to get into that. We're going to get into these topics. Drop down. Yeah, right there.
In 1770,
Crispus Attucks. This was the brother, the first brother murdered. The first brother that died in the Boston Massacre. The first casualty of the American Revolution.
A black man.
A what?
A black man.
Go ahead.
Became the first casualty of the American Revolution when he was shot and killed in what became known as the Boston Massacre.
Which only 5 people died and they called it a massacre. You know what the real massacres were at? And how about Wounded Knee? How about every single time they massacred the North American Indians? How about the 36th, the largest execution ever? A mass hanging ordered by Abraham Lincoln when 36 Native American Indians were hung on the same day. What about that massacre? Let me ask you. Meanwhile, how many brothers died over in the last week just from police? I bet you the tally is over 5. But because they're individual instances, they're massacring you year by year. Keep reading.
Quickly becoming known as the Boston Massacre, the episode further propelled the colonies toward war with the British. Flames were fanned even more when the soldiers involved in the incident were acquitted.
Were what?
Acquitted.
Were what?
Acquitted.
This is what escalated it even more. This is what made them riot. Those same British soldiers, hear me good, who opened fire and killed 5 American citizens. They were acquitted because no nation is going to charge their own people. Read.
On the grounds of self-defense.
On the grounds of what?
Self-defense.
Oh, I thought it was my taser. Read.
John Adams, who went on to become the second U.S. president.
Matter of fact, oh, he was going for my taser. But then they walk over and plant the same damn taser on him that they got the video evidence for. Read.
Went on to become the second U.S. president, defended the soldiers in court.
This was Sam Adams' cousin, John Adams, the second president of the United States of America. And he went and defended these troops. You understand that? Because Because that's how much of a devil the white man is. He'll play both sides of the fence just to get some money, just to get some critical acclaim. Drop down over here. Go ahead.
Helping to lead the attack was addicts.
Was who?
Addicts.
It was that same brother. You know why? Go back into the Bible real quick. I'm going to show you exactly why. And I'm going to show you why you cannot be marching with the same man who's killing you. Go to Proverbs 11 and 21. You cannot join hands with the same man. If this brother was wise enough, listen, this brother Addicts, when you do the history, he was born into slavery. His mother was a North American Indian and his father was a black man. And you know what he did? He became a free man because he ran away from his plantation and then he joined the merchant ships. And the reason why he was here was because all of the colonies on the East Coast that had ports, what were they doing? They were boycotting the tea. But Britain kept it open. So he was a British merchant seaman. So you know what he did? He went and joined the Sons of Liberty. He went and joined the Sons of Liberty. He traded one devil for another devil. And what does the Bible say about this? Read.
Proverbs 11 verse 21. Though hand join in hand.
Though your hand join in hand with the same man who's oppressing you.
The wicked shall not be unpunished.
And you know what? And because of that, he died with 4 white men in the snow in Boston because he wanted to fight who? Who? Boston? There's no difference between the Spaniards, between the French, between any of them. All of them had the children of Israel in captivity. All of them have killed you. Read.
Shall not be unpunished.
The wicked will not be unpunished. So you can go and you can try to join them. But you know what? When Christ cracks that sky, he gonna bust your head. That's what you don't know. Think Jesus Christ is soft, like the brother broke out earlier. Christ is a gangster. He said, bring them before my feet, my enemies, them that won't have me rule over you. So that this way, slay them at my feet. There's gonna come a day when your oppressors are gonna be in chains. When the same man that you built his cities, he's gonna build yours. And that's gonna be called justice. Drop that, let's get back into this story. You can't join hands with your oppressor. You can't join hands with the same man who's killing you. Right here, let's get into that Boston Tea Party. Read.
The Boston Tea Party, initially referred to by John Adams as the destruction of the tea.
That's what it was. Because they said, we're gonna go destroy this tea. And who was this tea for? This tea was for the American colonies. Never, not once, in the history books, when bringing up the Boston Tea Party, have they ever said, why are they destroying their own tea? But when you revolt, and you go destroy businesses that are not owned by you, they want to know why are you destroying your own neighborhood. For the same reason that these men who riot, these men who loot, these men who vandalize, these men who perform acts of strong robbery, they get honored. They become heroes. Because one thing that devil Napoleon said that was right, he said that history is written by the winners. And those same winners kept you in slavery until what, 1864? And still got you in slavery today. They got you in mental slavery and physical slavery. All your clothes come from another nation. All your utilities, all your food. You don't do nothing, you don't mass produce nothing on your own because you don't love your own damn people. And you think that we're not still slaves? Over 2 million black and Hispanics are in the prison system right now, sewing every single uniform, making every helmet for the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, sewing every single one of McDonald's uniforms for pennies a day, for 25 cents a day. Some of them getting dragged to McDonald's, no sick days, they don't have to worry about being late. But you know what? They're going to get to work on time because the 13th Amendment was only ratified if you did not, meaning that slavery was only abolished if you did not commit a crime. So if you commit a crime, they can take away your human rights and make you go do this labor. Read what you got.
Was a political protest by the Sons of Liberty in Boston.
Which they're calling it a political protest, making it all clean. This was a damn riot. Read.
On December 16, 1773, the demonstrators, some disguised as American Indians, destroyed an entire shipment of tea sent by the East India Company. While disguising their individual faces was imperative because of the illegality of their protest
Because this was illegal. So how is something illegal political? Read.
Dressing us,
Which lets you know that the politics in this country is all crooks. Read.
dressing us Mohawk warriors.
As what?
Mohawk warriors was a very specific and symbolic choice. It showed that
This is heavy right here. So not only did these devils go and raid this ship and loot it and destroy the team, but they did it dressed like the North American Indians to add insult to injury. Now they're going to tell you why they decided to choose this symbology. Read.
it showed that the Sons of Liberty identified with America over their official status as subjects of Great Britain.
This is disrespectful. It showed them that they know that the North American Indians are oppressed in this land. And what did they do? They dressed like them because the North American Indians were warriors, man. They were straight warriors. They were scalping the cavalry as they came through. They were so gangster that they had to hire other Indian tribes to come and take them over. They knew who their oppressors were. They knew that they were oppressing the North American Indians. And because they fought so valiantly against them, and they were a worthy adversary, they dressed like Mohawk Indians in order to send a message to the British that we're going to fight to the death just like them. Keep reading.
This famed act of American colonial defiance.
This famed act, it didn't say infamous. Something that's infamous is known for doing something wrong. Well, this was illegal activity that became famous. Read.
Defiance served as a protest against taxation. Seeking to boost the troubled East India Company, British Parliament adjusted import duties with the passage of the Tea Act.
And that's why they were rioting. Because of the Tea Act. Because of more taxes. Meanwhile, you riot because you get murdered in cold blood and there's no repercussions for your oppressor. Read.
In 1773, while consignees in Charleston, New York, and Philadelphia rejected tea shipments, merchants in Boston refused to concede to Patriot pressure.
And that's what Crispus Attucks was doing over there. Because he said, let me go fight my other oppressor. Because he thought he was free. But his brothers and sisters were in chains. And that's what makes every single one of our leaders and every single person that we look up to so disgusted. How many of you seen the Pacquiao fight with Mayweather? And seen that performance with, what's his name? Captain Coon, what? Jamie Foxx. How many of you seen Jamie Foxx trying to put his heart and soul into singing the national anthem? When in 1776, while the rockets red glared, he was looking like the opening scene to Django. On a damn chain gang. Not shaving, probably they didn't shower him for how long, dragging him behind a horse. Come on, man, when are you gonna love your people? When are you gonna wake up and realize you're not no American?
When nowadays I work hard on the job, till I come cross y'all, still like I'm a criminal. Trying to get caught, it could be your first charge. Like, man, you ain't getting the minimum. It gon' dip, squat, 5 mile run, push, pull, sit on, goddamn, get strong. Looking at my baby, trying to keep them doing wrong. It's too long before they grown, I can't leave them on their own. They killed Daddy like he had a 30-day cake. The news covering up the story, but they say